Here's a little package I got just before Christmas. And when I open it up, it's some Sauvignon Blanc, lovely, except only teasing you, inside are 2 items wrapped in bubble wrap. They belong together. And when I unwrap them, I find I've got a Hornby, model number R867. This is a class 142 Pacer rail bus. So let's get some coffee and we'll get started on this. Hi there YouTubers, and welcome to another servicing video from R096 and as I said in the introduction, this is an R867 from Hornby. It's a 2-car rail car in BR Regional Blue livery. You may notice that this car here has got a missing bogie, and when it was listed with a missing bogie. However, after I decided to purchase the Railcar, the seller said, I've got a bit of spares, so I'll try again. He said, I've got some spares that maybe belong to it, and I think, looking at this may be the parts which make up the missing bogie. So it's looking good that way. So let's look at the other car. This is complete, but it's got a little solder iron burn here, and that will need to be repaired. However, the front of it looks pretty good, if I can find it in the camera, and it's got the rear door. There we go, same on both sides, and the front is looking good. I can't see the camera. There we go, that's better. Right, sorry. This one here has also got a solder burn, so someone's been working on this with a soldering iron in their hand, so I'm going to try and sort of do a little repair to each of the 2 cars. Looking for an ingress into the workings. The only thing I can see is this screw on the corridor plate. So let's just see what happens if I remove this. Oh, this is looking interesting. And the casing lifts off from the chassis, and there's a wire flapping about doing very little. So I wonder where that came from. Would that be attached to perhaps the... sorry, I'm just thinking about it here, but I was going to say attached to the other bogie. Well, it matters not at the moment. But the pickup appears to be these 2 contacts, which, they brush on the wheels. So if I apply power to these contacts, trying to keep them in camera, yeah, so at least we know it picks up from here, and once I clean the wheels up, that will probably help the pickup and get this particular car working. And I'm looking at the rear axle, so it's got a pickup, so that has to get sent somewhere. Is this where the red wire should have been? Just about reaches, I think. So someone has removed that, so I'm just going to take this out and see what this reveals. Yes. Okay, the pickup plate, which looks quite bent, has got solder on this end, so I think that wire should be attached to that, and that is all down on the left hand side as you look at the front, and this is on the right hand side. That wouldn't have helped either. Can this be rotated? Can these wheels come out? Has someone been a naughty boy? It's not easy to take that out. Okay, let's worry about that side later on. This is the cover for the motor, which someone has either ripped off, taken off, or whatever. So the motor is probably defunct. Be easier just getting a new one. I also noticed that the worm screw to feed the drive gear is missing. Now I thought I had one, but it's of a different pitch. I can't remember. This is probably for the older X04 replacements. So I'll need a new one of those. I do have a replacement motor which works okay, and I just have to make sure I can match it to this one. The other thing which seems to be missing is there's a little clip here holding the motor in place, but in this bogie it doesn't seem to be there. So I might as well just kind of get myself a new motor clip and so on. You may remember I mentioned this flying red wire. I opened up this casing. Well, the reciprocal wire is on this side here, which does feed through to this axle pickup. But the comment I made about these wheels is that this wheel matches this wheel in this pickup, but here this wheel does not match this one, it matches that one, so it's kind of crossing over the power, so that's going to create a short circuit. Someone's taken this out and put it in incorrectly. Right, so let's start with the motor in the power car. The motor is held in by this retaining plate which has a screw, and I think if I take this screw away that should let this plate come out. Yep, there it is. There's a retaining hole for the motor, and that should allow the motor to come out. Oh, there's another retainer at the front. Hopefully that just unclips. He said, oh yes, there's a wee clip at the back. So take that one out, making sure I don't break it. Very easily done. There we go. That's the retaining clip out, so the motor is now free. And I'll just put the bogie aside just now. What I'm going to do is have a look at the other bogie, and if those two things I just mentioned are both missing. So that's a set of retainers for the motor. I've got a replacement motor, but the worm gear is different, so replace worm gear. There's not really much we can do with this. I'll try and clean up the commutator's not visible, it's inside this little bit here, so it's hard to get at, but I can lubricate this and give it a wee clean. So that's what I'll do, and I'll put it all together again. Just clean out this recess, which seems to have a lot of dirt in it. So I'm going to take the opportunity to clean and lubricate the actual drive bogie itself. First of all, scrub with the brush. Take any residual dust and so on. There's a wee bit of stuff in there. So I'll just try and scrape it away. Little cleans my IPA, see if that helps. Probably won't actually now that I think about it, so maybe some Grasso. Yep, there we go, got my cotton buds in there just to clean the metal. It won't actually affect performance because of where it is, but it's still nice to make it look clean, isn't it? And all over that, and then get it let dry. I don't see anything else needs attention there, so a wee bit of oil onto the axles in there, that'll work its way through, and some petroleum jelly on the gear itself, making sure I don't touch the wheels. Wheels, quick clean with IPA. I notice inside the wheels, I notice inside the wheels there are gears, so these are wheels which are used on different models. These gears don't take any part in the drive. So let me just try and clean that off there. Yep. Still quite murky, so I might need my fibre pencil on that. Yep, that should help. If I have my fibre pencil handy, I did have, here we go. So, nothing with that, and I'll get that polished up. No point in boring you guys with it. So that's both of the bogies, whoops, kind of ready to go back into action. Assembling the bogie, the motor simply sits into the bogie with the collar into the bearing, and the retaining clip is pushed down, holding the front of the motor, a bit like the guillotine, the thing that goes round your neck. Not that I've experienced it, I hope none of you have either. And then this bit at the back, if I just clear all this wireage out of the way, slide the rear retaining clip over the rear collar, and that should sit in nicely, allowing the screw to be re-fastened, like so. Now, if theory is correct, when I apply power to these arms here, the motor should run. And it does. And in fact, we can see the wheels moving, which is even better. So I've given them a wee clean as well. Right, so can I fit this back in? Of course I can. Put it in there. There's a little clip at the back, and then that sits into the hole for the screw. And the screw, I think, is this one. There are different lengths of screws in this, so make sure you know which one's which. Right, I'm just going to make sure that the contact springs are contacting the tops of the wheel. They seem to be, so we should get running from the wheels. Of a sort. It's definitely there. I wonder if it's on the wheels, maybe some pressure on it. On the track, I do apologise. Still not quite getting there. Yep, it's trying to, and it's trying to there. Try a wee bit of power in it and see if that helps. No. Okay, so I've still got something else to do. Those are okay there, those are okay there. That's fine there. Kind of fine there. Not making the best connection between the top of the rim and the little contact arm. Okay, I'll see if I can do something with that. I adjusted the tension of the arms and the wheels, and I cleaned up the track, which had been sitting all Christmas, so it maybe get it tarnished. So let's see what happens this time. So power on, and it's going one way. Going this way. Yep, definitely trying to run. And one thing I've noticed is my lead brown is positive and it's on the rail closest to me. So when I apply that, it tries to work this way, which suggests this is in fact the rear car, because when I apply the positive rail to the side closest to you, it moves this way. So that means it's going in reverse. So this has probably been the rear car. So now I can tidy up this bit, I can fix this wire into the pickup. These wheels, these are in the reverse sense. Yep, I think that's right. Oh, no, maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, because that red wire is attached to this wheel, so this red wire should be attached to this wheel, and it isn't. These wheels will have to be reversed. I've now got the chance to come back and have another look at my Hornby 142 Pacer, the 2-car rail bus, and I've got the one of the power cars working, as you can see, working nice in a little bit of track. So just to kind of recap, I have the second power car, which has a missing and in fact faulty motor. After a little bit of checking and double checking, I've come up with this simplified wiring diagram of the 142. I've got car 1 here, car 2 there. I'm designing it so that when positive power is applied, it's going to go in this direction. So the motor in each car is connected to the outside bogies. So just for simplicity, I'll call this the front, I'll call this the back. And the trailing bogies for each car has got an axle connected to a non-insulated wheel and an insulated wheel. The positive feed will be fed to the positive pole of the motor, which will drive the car in this direction, and in the trailing car the positive feed will be fed from the negative rail, so it will go in effectively the opposite direction. The wiring for these are actually symmetrical. So if I wire both cars up identically and then turn them round, they'll be reflective. Rotational symmetry, I do apologise, and that means that when one goes forward, the other goes back effectively, which will send it the same direction as each other. That's the theory. So let me get ahead and start to wire these cars up. I've reached the stage where I've wired both cars up, and hopefully, although I have tested it, they should go in the same direction at the same time. So applying power, and you can see that they both work in the same way. Reverse the power and they both go together. The one thing which I haven't been able to do as far as I'm aware is match the speeds of the two motors. So I think one is always going to be dominant, but I think the differences will be quite slight, so I don't think there's a real danger of one overheating the other, but I'll have to probably run that in a longer test to find out. I mentioned earlier that the fact that they're not coupled together, and in fact out of the chassis which I purchased, I've only really got one working coupler hook. They, again, from Peter's Spares, they seem to be in short supply, so I might have to wait for that, although I do have one or two ideas which I think I'd like to try. While browsing the internet, I came across this set of NEM pockets with different fittings, and this one here with a hole in it means I'll be able to fit this into the chassis of the Pacer. The Pacer had this pin, and there is a C-clip at the top end to hold it in place. I also found a couple of these while at the model rail show, so they fitted into NEM pockets, so I fitted one onto each side, as it seemed to be difficult getting the originals from China. So that's me resolved that problem. I've got two motorised chassis, so, and as you saw at the beginning of this little clip, I was able to get them running in tandem, as it were. Right, I think we're at a point we can start to rebuild these. Make sure that the weight is inserted into the well. Not catching the capacitor or the wire. The upper body has two parts. There is the seating and the main chassis cover. This one has already been populated with a driver and some passengers. And this one here, do you not think that looks like Miss Marple? Absolutely. Julie Mackenzie's Miss Marple. In there. Then the lower chassis hooks into the front, and they just fold together. Make sure it sits properly, no wires caught anywhere, and then there is a screw fits through the rear of the casing, and I'll do the same with the second half. And there we have Hornby R867, the 142 class Pacer, 2-car DMU, EMU, I'm not absolutely certain, but it's now up and running again, which is a bit changed from what I got when I first received this. Excuse the voice just now, just back from holiday. Right, so I'm now ready to wrap this up, and before I do, I have one other thing to do. On eBay I found this. It was an empty box for R867, the twin rail bus, the provincial sector, which is exactly what I have here. So my little 142 can go into the box, keep it safe until I can get myself a nice bit of track and run this properly. So what have I done? Well, when it came in, one of the power bogies had been dismantled, the motor had been destroyed, got a new motor, had to change the worm gear, had a couple of repairs to do on the other locomotive, fitted some new couplers with NEM pockets. Now there's still a little feature on the locomotives that perhaps you remember at the beginning. There is some solder burns on the cabinets. I'm not going to tackle them at this particular time because I don't have the proper paints, but maybe someday later on I'll get the paints and some decals and we'll do this to a higher standard. At the moment it's running. Yep. And that is good enough for me for the time being. I've got so many other things to get on with. I can now box this up, get it into its box and get it stored away, and hopefully someday I'll take it out and have it running round a layout. Well, here we have the Hornby R867 Pacer twin rail car in provisional sector colours and with its proper box. Hope you enjoyed that. If you do, please comment, maybe give me a like. If you haven't already done so, you may want to subscribe for more model train repairs. Just basically getting the first bogie running, getting one or two repairs, doing the clips, the connector clips, and checking it all out and having it running smoothly. So this is now ready to be stored, put away until I get a chance to run it. And the other reason I'll be glad to see it get rid of is I've been using my coffee cup to hold it up, so now I can have a drink. So cheers everybody, bye for now.